Greetings, comrades, and welcome to the Eastern Border. Now, I'll be straight up with you right here. I'm not exactly sure how well this episode is gonna do because, well, I want to do something special. Okay, because today, congratulations us, yay, 10th anniversary. I've been doing this for 10 years now. 10 years of Soviet jokes, misery, not feeling very well, and not sleeping, and working way too much. I really need to get into academia, and well, first I need a car license, but that's a whole different story. I figured out that I can't really do any celebratory episodes anymore. It's kind of silly. There are some things that I want to talk about, but this is kind of one of those 15th takes. I don't know. Please excuse me, but on this occasion where my job, my work, that has basically changed my life and pushed me towards, being a somewhat useful human person. Yeah, I don't know. I recorded a nice little script where I gave you the most interesting stories from my podcast, Everyday Activities, and throughout these 10 years that I've been doing this show. And then I just kind of threw it out. I need to finish my book and stuff. It just felt very awkward. I don't know. Most of you are Americans, and most of the remaining part are either Canadians, people from other parts of Europe, or Australians, and it is kind of silly. But I do have to admit that I can do horrific talks about the war, but I'm really bad at patting myself on the head and celebrating this day where I started my show back in 2014. Wow. But we're here. We're here, and I'll talk about some things. And sorry if this is a bit awkward. I just left my news script in, but I kind of want to make this one a bit special. I'll start with the ugly stuff out first. Please consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/theeasternborder, or click the donate button on theeasternborder.lv. Very much appreciated. If you want to support the show in some other format or way or whatever, join our Discord and just drop us an email at theeasternborder@gmail.com. I'm about to go and visit Victor again very soon in June, and we're going to plan our next trip to Ukraine. And my Lithuanian buddy Edvinas, who makes a podcast in Lithuanian about politics, Neredaguota, he also kind of looks like he's interested. So lots of planning and stuff to do. Those of you, I heard some complaints about the whole thing of what Dugin's interview wasn't very good. I was intending to do this as in a sort of a Mystery Science Theater 3000 fashion, so that you play the interview in the background and you put on kind of our discussion on top of it. But I understood that this wasn't the best form of doing that. But hey, that's available to our patrons, and you can have that one too. But in the future I'll make these interviews better. Oh yeah, and why you should join our Discord? Well, I'll allow myself to shill it properly. First of all, we have about 1,000 people there. About 100 or so are active, but I think most of you lurk. But it's a nice community with people from all over the place. And that's where I go and we watch movies with our patrons. Yeah, we have movie nights where I stream a movie, mostly Russian movie with subtitles, and then I comment on it too, live. And then we watch interviews together. We sit in Discord chats together when I have an interview. Sometimes, people will ask questions and everything. It's a nice place to hang out. And it's, mostly it's my target audience. There are a few people there who are below, I think the youngest one is 19. Yeah, the youngest one probably is 19. But everyone's a reasonable adult there, and we're having actually a decent community there. So you should probably check that one out. Also, on the podcast news section, I will be next Thursday doing an episode about a thing that I wanted to do for a long time, but I kind of forgot about it. And then a Canadian friend of mine reminded me that I should do it. And he's going to be on the show too. So next Thursday, we are recording an episode about AK, the famous Automat Kalashnikov, because I really don't know how I've been doing this for 10 years straight, right? And never made an episode about the Kalashnikov. That's going to be pretty neat because my friend there, he's with the military. We haven't really discussed the details here, so I'm not going to mention his name, but it's going to be recorded. It's going to be great. So yeah, join our Discord, expect stuff, and hopefully I won't have to try to run away in a few months back to someplace. But that's kind of the ugly part. Except one more thing. My beloved wife Evita is right now in Romania, and I know that a bunch of you guys from Romania are listening to this show because in Europe I'm listened mostly in two countries, Netherlands and Romania. Now, I don't know why exactly these two, but those are my biggest download numbers. So Romanians, if you are somewhere near Cluj, please also just drop us an email, or better yet, join Discord. It's going to be great. I will put the invite link in the show description. If you can't see it in your podcast app, just really go to theeasternwar.lv and click the latest post, and it'll be right there. But yeah, sorry about this, and I'm watching the Audacity going forward, and I'm seeing like I've babbled and advertised for 6 minutes. That's horrific. But yeah, so I'll just get the news out of the way because we have some important stuff. First of all, and we'll get to more celebratory things later. First of all, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution calling for Palestine to be recognized as a full member of the organization. The final decision is, well, sadly, and you'll laugh, of course, with the Security Council. The Assembly voted in favor of a resolution recognizing the right of the State of Palestine to full membership in the organization. 143 states were in favor, 9 were against, including, by the way, the United States of America and Israel, and another 25 abstained. The resolution calls on the United Nations Security Council to support Palestine's entry into the organization as a full member. The document adopted also gives Palestine a number of procedural rights. The country will be able to include itself in the list of speakers at meetings on Middle East topics, propose amendments, and make procedural proposals on behalf of a group of countries. In addition, Palestine will receive a permanent seat in the meeting room of the General Assembly. Currently, by the way, Palestine is in the United Nations as an observer state. The country received this status in 2015. Why this is important? Because this matters for global geopolitics here. No matter what the United States chooses, because if it voted against, together with Israel, then one would presume that in the Security Council meeting they will vote against, this resolution due to United States having close ties with Israel. However, I can predict with my far sight that congratulations, now you too will be called total Nazis and anti-Semites by everyone in Russian media if you do that. If you, however, decide to vote for that thing, then I presume that there will be two options. Either Russia will veto this or they won't. And the fact for they won't is very, very slim because, well, it doesn't seem like Russia wants to normalize relationships. This whole Security Council meeting is going to be important because traditional Russian practice for this matter would be to oppose whatever United States is doing. They have that Nebenzia who spouts nonsense all the time, and no one really knows why Russia is still in the Security Council, but the official policy should be that they do everything opposed to the United States by default at this point. So we're going to have to see. But yeah. If United States decides to, in the Security Council, to basically just say nope and not give Palestine this full member status, then brace yourselves. We're going to have a ton of you having the same turbo-Nazi propaganda on your head as usual. It doesn't matter that, Russia has been super anti-Semitic for a long time. It's going to happen. I'll be following this closely, and this is an important thing. The question there is that who will represent Palestine? And that's a big issue, but in general, I just recommend everyone to either take notice if, for some reason, United States and Russia do neither of these veto this whole proposal. Then it's going to get interesting. But most likely what's going to happen is the United States is going to veto this, and then we're going to see a ton of weird stuff. Another good news, however, is that Ukraine will receive the first F-16 fighters in June or July. Reuters reports this with reference to a military source in Kyiv. Probably the same people that I talked with, but, it is what it is. They sound more official if you mention them as secret military sources. And the source obviously did not specify which country will supply the aircraft. Previously, we had 4 candidates: Denmark, Netherlands, Norway, and Belgium, who all promised to send F-16s to Kyiv. But Reuters notes that in the context of the offensive of the Russian army in the Kharkov region, to which we'll get next, deliveries of F-16s could become a vital upgrade of the Ukrainian Air Force. At the beginning of May, by the way, the speaker of the Air Force of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Ilya Yevlash, stated that some Ukrainian pilots were already completing training to fly the F-16s. We might finally see them. On May the 10th, the commander of the Ukrainian Air Force, Nikolai Oleshchuk, said that the Czech Republic handed over to Ukraine the first simulator for training pilots. And in total, Ukraine is supposed to receive about 45 aircraft. Now, I'm going to use this as a thing to poke my friend who's an airplane expert about the situation. I might actually call the Secret Police podcast. That guy has, he's working on his pilot's license, so it's crazy. I just don't know exactly that much about the advantages of F-16 versus all the other planes. Aerial warfare is not my specialty. I can talk about tanks, but yeah, planes, I don't know. I will try to find someone more educated in this matter than myself for you on the show, but at least something positive. But that offensive, well, this has been out all over the place, because on May the 10th, Russian troops launched a new offensive in the border areas of the Kharkov region. In the morning, Russian pro-war Telegram channels started blabbing all over the place. Later, the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense admitted that the Russians made an attempt to break through the defense line under the cover of armored vehicles. The Ukrainian department claims that the attacks were repelled, but battles of varying intensity continue, end quote, and reserves were sent to the area to strengthen their defenses. Zelensky stated that a brutal battle is taking place in the region, and according to him, Russian advance was stopped by artillery fire. According to the Ukrainian OSINT project Deep State, the Russian military is trying to enter and gain foothold in settlements along the border. And there's a bunch of them. I will learn them by heart, but lots of lists. Well, you'll learn these names pretty soon. According to the project, the Ukrainian military destroyed 3 units of Russian equipment that moved deep in the region from Pilnya. That's one word that you should probably remember. The Russian Defense Ministry did not comment on this offensive. I don't know why you would ask them, but, well, my journalist friends who still can go to Russia and not be arrested somehow managed to get this and ask at least. The offensive itself is accompanied by increased shelling on the border areas of the Kharkov region. Volchansk, which is located 5 kilometers from the border, that's about 3 miles, and approximately 10 kilometers, about 7 miles, or maybe 6, from Shebeninko, Belgorod region, was subjected to the most massive shelling. On the afternoon of May the 10th, the head of the Kharkov Regional Military Administration, Oleg Sinegubov, stated that as the result of the latest shelling in Volchansk, 1 person was killed and a total of 5 were injured. Another person died in the village of Cherkasy Tishki. Earlier, during the night shelling, victims appeared in Kharkov itself in the village of Liptsy. According to local authorities, evacuation has begun in Volchansk due to this mass shelling. Ukrainian sources claim that Russia has not yet deployed the forces necessary for a deep advance, but do not rule out that this could still happen. Zelensky also stated that, quote, "It is important that they can increase and pull up more forces in this direction. This is a fact, but our military, the military command, knew about this and calculated the forces in order to meet the enemy with fire." A possible goal of the offensive is the creation of a buffer zone along the border. A senior Ukrainian military official, again, very secret sources, told Reuters. Russian military Telegram channels write about the same stuff all over the place, with various weird rumors, obviously. According to Reuters, the goal of the Russian military may be to push the Ukrainian army back about 10 kilometers, or 7 miles, from the border. The publication, by the way, claims that the Russians have already advanced a kilometer, but I'd be a bit skeptical. Putin said in March that Russia might decide to create a sanitary zone on Ukrainian territory. According to him, this could have been done to prevent the Ukrainian military from shelling Russian border areas. In the area of the Russian-Ukrainian border, there is a group of Russian troops, north, which the Russian Ministry of Defense has been mentioning since April 2024. The Ukrainian military said that the group was headed by General Alexander Lapin in the newly formed Leningrad military district. He was the former commander of the Center Group, who was actively criticized by the head of Chechnya, our good old buddy, soon to be very dead, Ramzan Kadyrov. Lapin is called the commander of the North Group by Russian pro-war Telegram channels. The border territories, let me remind you of this whole Kharkiv region, were captured by Russian troops at the very beginning of the full-scale invasion, but they were later liberated. We have an episode on that. Back when, by the way, we had some sources from so-called elites in Russia who said that high-ranking security officials were considering a scenario in which Russia would try to take Kharkov and then complete this special military operation. However, neither I nor my journalist buddies have this info. Now, this is going to go wild. Everyone's going to panic about this, but I've asked some questions to my friends here, and I've spoken to people who are closer to the action themselves. And no, Kharkov is not going to be taken. I can assure you that. What's going to happen is that they're going to send a bunch of people, write up a ton of papers upstairs, and nothing's going to get done. That's not going to happen this time. Because, well, remember that Putin himself now wants to do some victory stuff, as he's now inaugurated, quote unquote, as the president, right? And he's living from an information that is very different from what we hear in the news. Putin does not use the internet. He does not have a smartphone. He does not even know how to operate with these things. This is why, his election video was just hilarious. He literally gets his internet information every day from 17 red binders full of the latest gossip on the web, right? So he lives in a totally different reality. Which means that everyone, and it's going to continue since they will just not learn, they're going to send a bunch of troops all bunched up because Russia now wants to use the period of time where, although the aid has been accepted in the United States government, it has not yet been sent to Ukraine. So Ukraine is now in a vulnerable position where they have, Russia now has the time before the aid arrives, and they have to use this opportunity. So they will throw on more meat assaults. They will do organized position things. It's going to be crazy because I definitely can assure you that in a few days we're going to hear about another Russian column that's just sitting there and moving to be blasted by a HIMARS rocket. They're gonna advance for a couple of 100 meters, lose a ton of men. There's going to be mass casualties. Then something stupid is going to happen. But I wouldn't worry about that. I highly doubt that this advance is going to go anywhere. Just, if someone's super panicking, again, I'm still waiting for these so-called 30,000 to arrive, these 30,000 per month, as some Western sources claim. The bigger issue here, what I really am concerned about is, it looks very, very scary here in the Baltics. And not because of Putin. I don't think Putin's going to get involved himself because Russia currently has its army, a bit busy. However, Belarus has not officially entered the war, although it's basically a satellite state of Putin that lives only because, of Russia's donations. So we might actually have, I highly doubt a full-blown invasion would happen from Belarus because they're the only available forces. However, there might be a situation where provocations start, so that at one point, say 5-6 months or so, we could live in a world where Belarus is just shelling places on this side of the border and just to cause chaos in NATO. But it looks very likely. And if that happens again, if this is getting more and more serious for me, yeah, I'll try to just get out of Dodge because, again, I'm on the nice little short list of people that that are about to get killed. But yeah, worried about that part. Since, got married, kind of would like to move on to a bit of academia. But yeah, I hope this does not happen, but you never know. You also don't know how exactly would people react there in Belarus. This action would not be popular, but that would cause another wrench. However, that would be just testing the red lines because, again, as I mentioned in the previous episode, NATO has determined that this would be one of the biggest red lines that NATO would get involved. The situation is just getting super complex. But yeah, if you were here for the news, again, sorry for the intro. You can just move on now, and I'll take some 5 or 6 minutes, maybe 10, to talk about the whole show because I've been doing this for 10 years. And yeah, again, like I said at the beginning, I had my whole special script prepared and everything, but then I understood that there are just very few things that I want to talk about, and I'll gush after the war is over. I would like you guys to prod me somehow to finish my book, and I would like some help with you getting me into a PhD academia program in the United States, because after that, at least my life in Latvia would be settled, which is nice. Those are my kind of goals, and of course, cutting with the war and all the reporting. I really need to finish that book. One thing though is that I was just, again, trying to fall asleep, but that's not easy with my levels of stress. I'm going to go to a therapist after I record this episode. Have about 30 minutes before the bus to make it. It's going to be crazy. But the one thing I noticed is how, maybe some of you heard in our episode where we talked about our experiences in the United States with Evita, how truly the best thing about the United States, I think, is the fact that you like your money. And the worst thing about the United States is the fact of how you like your money. I watched an economics channel episode on YouTube, and for me it was alien. I understood another little thing which serves as kind of an example on how I feel about doing the show and how I've grown to understand things. It was alien to me that people in the States, and this is going to come to a shock to my Eastern European listeners. People in the States actually, if they like their career choice, they actually feel like they're a part of the company and they want to get, some say in what the matters there, and they buy the stocks and they feel like they're actually, a part of this company, not just random hirelings. Not all jobs, of course, but there are jobs where you feel that way, which is crazy. Again, in Latvia, in private companies, stock options are not very common. It's totally different here. Now, I'm not the one to talk much about this because I don't work for a mega corporation. However, yeah, this whole idea that you could feel a sense of belonging to your workplace in the sense that you feel like a part of this company with stock options and everything. Maybe that's more in the West, because I also don't know how that's in Western Europe, but that seemed truly alien to me because I finally understood the mindset that no, so there are people who actually have jobs just like mine, except they work in a big company and they truly feel like a part of the company. And that truly seemed alien to me. And I came to this thing when I realized that it's not just, people pretending to be polite corporate folks. No, they actually care about their companies, at least, well, if they have chosen that as a career path. That yeah, this happened 10 years after I've been working with this. This show, has caused me a lot of moments like this one. And that's what I'm really thankful for. When I started out this show in the small town of Ludza, I never expected that I'll ever go to the United States in my life. I've been a couple of times now. I've never expected that the war would start or anything like that. I really want to go back to the historical episodes. And I have just learned so much during this time. And I've worked hard and lots of things have happened. But still, when I'm trying to explain to you how we here feel about stuff, yeah, that's my biggest fear. I know that I've learned a lot about the American, the Western mindset in general, but there's still much to learn. And if I don't understand the differences, well, yeah, that's not making my job any easier. And I think this process is just going to continue. And if I'll need some help, I'll let you know, I suppose. It's just that I'm very, very thankful because doing this show has taught me so much about the world and how everything works. I've been to places and seen things, interacted with stuff that I never imagined in my life. I have learned as much from y'all as you probably have learned from me about Eastern Europe. And that's something really beautiful, which is why I also advertise Discord, because I don't know. It just seems to me that, I'm doing this podcast and someone actually genuinely cares. And that's really beautiful. When I call you comrades all the time, obviously for Soviet Kitsch, right? I really mean it, because I never thought that I would have this level of interaction with people from the other side of the planet and all this. So thank you for being here, and thank you for allowing me to do this. And we will, of course, try to improve. One way, because I ran into a bit of a pickle here. This is just post-credit stuff. That was the only gush that I left in. Other things are off. But apparently, do you remember the time when I was in Ukraine last time and I sent hats to everyone? Yeah. We ran into a bit of issue because one of the hats with a card on it, a bunch of you got them, at least from Discord or from emails, but one of these hats was supposed to go to Philippines. And I sent it to Philippines last year in September. Now, yesterday, I went to the post office and apparently it's been returned to me. And now I have to pay 21% value-added customs tax for it. I don't know what happened, but if you're the guy in the Philippines, because too much time, have forgotten your name. If you're the guy from Philippines who had paid for the hat and never received it, I have the whole package back in Riga right now. I have to pay about, 10 euros to decustom that stuff, and I'll try to figure out how to send it to you. Now, if you do not respond, then I have a hat bought last year in Odessa, which I will ship anywhere except maybe Philippines. But I know that stuff that I mail goes to the United States and Canada and everywhere in the EU relatively nicely. We also have those Soviet era maps, another shipment incoming. But yeah, I'm just stunned since our cap, baseball cap that we got, sadly no longer very usable. But yeah, if you're the guy who ordered it originally, please let me know, and I'll wait until I'll wait for a week, okay? And if no one responds by then I'll try to mail it to someone else. It's straight from Odessa, because I just got very confused because I thought if they had returned it they would do it sooner, but oh wow, Latvian Postal Office just takes a very long time. But yeah, that's about it for today. I will be now going to my therapist and then going to Estonia. And, I just wish that we all get through this cursed decade safely. До свидания, товарищи. And remember, happiness, especially on this anniversary, is mandatory.